Everything out of that league is bullshit. The NBA is a rudderless ship under the commissioner, Adam Silver. People in the NBA, they expect to be able to do whatever the hell they want. When there's no discipline, they laugh at you. When there's no structure, they laugh at you. So that's what you dislike the most. Did you know this? The NBA is a rudderless ship. It is a rudderless ship under the commissioner, Adam Silver. I've said this for years. Kindness is weakness to players, and people in the NBA, well, they expect kindness. They expect to be able to do whatever the hell they want. They expect no repercussions, no consequence, and that's what Adam Silver, ever since he took over from David Stern, it's exactly what he has done. He has, well, quite frankly, he has emboldened the players, whether it has been in the hotel where they had wine clubs, weed smoking, women in there, the whole deal during the pandemic, to frankly do whatever you want. We're woke. BLM on the court, all the other nonsense on the court. And players, frankly, look at that as weakness, not kindness. I know you and I would look at it as kindness. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I want to make sure that we support this. I want to make sure that we embolden ourselves with the commissioner, but that ain't how NBA players work. It is not. Business as usual, no, this is not it. The gambling, as we'll get into with Michael Franzese, this is not it. The league itself that Adam Silver runs is a mess. It has no trust among its fans. You sell competition, you sell unpredictability, you sell anything can happen. And now we know anything can happen because, well, you got a huge FBI bust. A lot of people say this is going to get bigger and bigger. Yeah, I got to tell you, I'm on a wait-and-see mode. I heard the same thing about the federal investigation into college basketball coaches. Much ado about nothing, but I will say this. You got a sitting head coach in the NBA. You know, Fox broadcaster Mike Hill, when I had Bruce Pearl on, said, you better vet the head coach that you go to play for, because he didn't like the fact that Pearl was talking smack about Obama. Well, I got to tell you, man, in the NBA, I haven't heard Mike Hill or anybody else say you better vet the coach you go play for in the NBA, because this dude is running illegal bookmaking. No, he's not. He's running illegal poker games and illegal bookmaking schemes with Terry Rozier. See, the head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers is involved in both Terry Rozier prop bet scandal and poker games that are rigged to steal as much as reportedly $7 million from the head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers, the head coach, from his buddies. You got a player involved. You got former players involved in gambling rings, prop bet manipulation. Silver released his first public statement following the bombshell investigation. And you know this is just going to be crap. You know it is. Good for Cassidy Hubbard, who I like. I've always liked. Good for her getting this story, getting this scoop, getting Silver on the record. Here he is.
Thanks, Ian. Adam, yesterday, federal indictments were announced involving current player Terry Rozier and current head coach Chauncey Billups. What was your initial reaction, and what have the last 36 hours been like for you?
My initial reaction was I was deeply disturbed. There's nothing more important to the league and its fans than the integrity of the competition. And so I had a pit in my stomach. It was very upsetting.
Yeah, really? You had a pit in your stomach. See, you should have a pit in your stomach knowing that you failed these people. Here's why. The FBI, by all accounts, surprised Adam Silver, surprised the NBA. They did not do that to David Stern. David Stern was able to, by all accounts, squelch the FBI when he had gambling issues. There are a lot of people, I don't know what's true, you don't know what's true, only a few do, that question whether Michael Jordan's time in baseball was real or was that an escape, a suspension from basketball for gambling. Don't know. Word on the street is Stern was so powerful he was able to say, FBI, I got this, not only to Jordan but to others. See, when you go woke and you're soft, like Adam Silver is, and you try to appease everybody, much less well, moronic millionaires that throw a ball through a rim and make $60 million a year. Eventually people, well, that are important laugh at you. When there's no discipline, they laugh at you. When there's no structure, they laugh at you. When you're all about making money, bending the knee to China, bending the knee to Black Lives Matter, an organization that has stolen millions from people. When you bend the knee, we in the media may have to acquiesce. We in the media, because, well, we don't want people to call us racist or sexist or whatever, may have to lie. The FBI doesn't give a rat's ass. What they do is they don't respect you. And they don't respect Silver. Why should you? What has Adam Silver ever done to be respected other than hold a job that, well, frankly, I'm sure he kissed the ass of David Stern to get? He hadn't done anything that real adult males with the great American penis respect, certainly not with the FBI respect, because they came right in. Now, here's what, and good for Cassidy Hubbard, she asked Silver why the NBA did not find what the FBI found on Scary Terry Rozier. Remember, the FBI, the NBA, they cleared Terry Rozier's dumbass. Remember that? Here's Silver on that.
Terry Rozier was allowed to keep playing after an NBA investigation ruled that there was no NBA rules violated. What do you make of that decision now amid the FBI's allegations against him?
So what happened was, because bets were placed through legalized legal betting companies, they picked up aberrational behavior around a particular game in March of 23. And so that was brought to our attention by the regulators and the betting companies. We then looked into that situation and were very transparent about it. And while there was that aberrational betting, we frankly couldn't find anything. Terry at the time cooperated. He gave the league office his phone. He sat down for an interview. And we ultimately concluded that there was insufficient evidence, despite that aberrational behavior, to move forward. We then worked directly with the law enforcement, as they said at the press conference, that the league has been cooperating. And so that was obviously over 2 years ago. So the federal government has subpoena power, can threaten to put people in jail, can do all kinds of things that a league office can't do. So we've been working with them since then. And of course, what they announced yesterday was an indictment. So 2.5 years later, he still hasn't been convicted of anything, in fairness to Terry. Obviously, it doesn't look good, but he's now been put on administrative leave. And so, there's a balance here of protecting people's rights and investigating. And as I said, we've been working with the government, and they have extraordinary powers that a league office doesn't have.
When you're explaining, as the great Gary Schreiber said, you're losing. That's a great answer. That's a terrific answer. And would it surprise me if he didn't pick Cassidy Hubbard out to ask that question and he had that answer? That's a really good answer. What are you going to do? But it's bullshit, because everything out of that league is bullshit. Did you know this? Allegedly, Terry Rozier's still collecting his $26 million salary from the NBA. Can you believe that? No, it's unbelievable. Here's Chauncey Billups' attorney. Anyone who knows Chauncey Billups knows he's a man of integrity. Oh, really? I mean, there's a lot of reports from a lot of people that played in that poker game, that knew about that poker game, including professional gamblers. Actually, I should say those poker games, L.A., Las Vegas. To believe that Chauncey Billups did what the federal government is accusing him is to believe he would risk his Hall of Fame legacy, his reputation, and his freedom. I believe that. I'll tell you why I believe that. Because Chauncey Billups became what most become, an arrogant, rich prick that thought he was above the law, that thought they're not going to care about poker games. Or, and we'll talk to Mike Franzese about this, did he get in too deep with gamblers? Remains to be seen. He would not jeopardize those things for anything, let alone a card game. Don't minimize the card game, son. This ain't a card game where me and the old ladies play a little bit of gin rummy to 100. My daughter and I play cards when we go to Florida. We have an ongoing game of gin for no money. This ain't that, sweetie. This is bilking. This is cameras. This is glasses. This is contact lenses. Don't act like this is some simple card game. No. Furthermore, Chauncey Billups has never and would never gamble on basketball games, provide insider information, sacrifice the trust of his team. And the league, as it would tarnish the game he has devoted his entire life to. Oh, he's a victim. He's never backed down. Yeah. Never plans on backing down. He'll fight these allegations with the same tenacity that marked his 28-year career. We look forward to our day in court. Yeah, really? We'll see. I love it. I'm not buying any of this. Zero zip. I'll tell you what happens. Not only did Billups participate in this, I guarantee you he knew what was going on, or else he wouldn't participate in this. It is widely known, and this is even this. You know, when I would go on Nike trips, Krzyzewski and the boys used to have a, quote, high-stakes poker games. I was never invited. I never wanted to be invited. At that time, I was a pretty good poker player. But I never wanted to go up there. I figured that could only lead to trouble. You know, one of the things that is interesting to me about this is that the feds, before they bring some type of indictment like this, basically win about 98% of their cases. It'll be interesting to see if there is a plea bargain. It'll be interesting to see if this gets somewhere, well, with tentacles that are long. We've seen now Antonio Gates is alleged, the Hall of Fame tight end. He is alleged to have hosted and participated in these games. Look, here's my thing on it. I'm not the guy that buys into, well, this is wide-reaching. I'm saying what others are saying, that this is wide-reaching. I saw it with the Southern District of New York and this grand press conference with charts and boards and everything else talking about college coaches. We have your playbook. Some guy named Shoes or something went to jail. I don't know, Book Richardson. No, it was much ado about nothing. So I'm going to ask Franzese, I'm going to ask him, does he think this is wide-ranging and why? I get it, everybody says it is, but why? I didn't see it the last time out. I didn't. Now, in the wake of NBA games, figures being implicated in rigged poker games and point-shaving scandals, the man, Golden State Warriors head coach, known woke gasbag, Steve Kerr had thoughts. He complained that he has to deal with angry bettors. Angry bettors sending him emails about missing bets. All right. Here's Kerr. Now, remember, NBA players make $60 million a year. Terry Rozier, who is just a player, made $26 million a year. But according to Steve Kerr, they've got to deal with mean people. I deal with bullshit every day. Here's Kerr whining again.
The biggest thing is that our players face a lot of wrath of fans. You know, I know I've talked to our guys. Our guys get nasty social media posts from people who've bet on games, and that's the thing that I don't like, you know, about this the most. I mean, just you know, our players should not have to deal with that, but they do. They probably would anyway. You know, even if we didn't have a partnership with these companies. So it's just kind of the modern life, you know, social media, everyone having access to everyone else. And, yeah, it's rough. I mean, I feel bad for our guys. I've gotten some emails in the past, like, you know, from people I don't know saying, hey, thanks a lot. I had money on the game tonight, and you screwed up by subbing so-and-so in or something like that. And, you know, I've gotten those too. It's weird. It's really weird.
So that's what you dislike the most. As a head coach, that's what you dislike the most. The fact that fans are mean to players. You don't dislike the fact that a player is convicted for fixing prop bets. You don't like the fact that a sitting head coach is involved in rigging high-stakes poker games. You're mad that, like every single one of us, your little players, average salary $15 million, $20 million, $30 million, have to deal on an app with people being mean to them. That's what you hate the most, Steve Kerr? That's what's got you most bothered by this? Not that players are fixing bets, Not that players are taking themselves out of games. Nuh-uh. Not that a head coach is involved in that, allegedly, or involved in, well, I don't know, illegal poker games, a legend, a Hall of Famer. But what bothers you is that Joey Bag of Donuts, Susie Rottencrotch, they're mad at your players. That's what bothers you in all this? God bless you, Steve Kerr, you pussy. I tell you what, coaches are so ridiculous. They're so afraid to criticize players. They're so up the ass of players, and that's where the NBA sucks. That's where the NBA is the worst. Between Adam Silver and his minions and coaches that don't coach, don't supervise, and, frankly, coaches that are punks. I mean, you're supposed to, as a coach, be the leader. You're not supposed to be the guy showing up in federal court for an indictment wearing a hoodie looking like you've been on a 10-day bender. You're not supposed to be the guy that's running illegal poker games while you're the head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers. Mike Hill, where's the vetting of that? Where you at, Mike? You were yelling, bitching, whining, moaning about, you better be careful who you play for, because Bruce Pearl said, well, you know, Barack Obama's a bad guy. How about we vet NBA coaches? Well, you get drafted. No, you go for free agency too. It's recruiting. What a load of crap. What a complete and utter load of crap. That's what you're worried about, Steve Kerr? In all this nonsense, I'm most worried because some clown on an app that you don't have to read, that you can turn off and never see again. That's what you're mad about. Oh, okay. All right. You got email. Woo. Hey, enjoying the show? Of course you are. Make sure you head on over to youtube.com/don'tatme with Dan Dakich to like, comment, and subscribe. That way you'll never, ever, ever miss any of our great content. What a bunch of crap that is. Another loaded weekend of college football, to great games, to fiery post-game exchanges. The weekend did not disappoint. Hey, look. Saturday morning, a report broke. I don't know how this guy's so popular, but Steve Sarkisian is apparently the Gazda, right? He gets the Texas job. He drunked or boozed or whatever out of USC, goes and gets healed by Alabama, gets the Texas job. Texas hadn't really done squat there. And then according, supposedly, he is going to be, well, out of Texas. He wants to be in the NFL. How does this guy have that much suck? Hey, his team did come back to win 45-38 against Mississippi State. Good for him. Here's Sark. Sark says, here's Diana Rossini. I'm told that representatives for Texas coach Steve Sarkisian have let NFL decision makers know that he would be interested in potential head coaching hirings, including the Titans. Here is what his agent put out. Any reports regarding communication on coaching opportunities with NFL teams are patently false, wildly inaccurate. Sark is solely focused on coaching the University of Texas football team. That's that big fat power broker, Jimmy Sexton. Sark went off, however, on Rossini's report. Completely unprofessional, embarrassing for the media. Really? Not as embarrassing as showing up to alumni function as the head coach of USC hammered and acting like an idiot. I don't know. Maybe. Here's Sark. Now Sark is cleansed. The Pope and Miss Terry cleansed him. Here he is.
I'd love to touch on this, so bear with me for a second, because it really pisses me off that one person can make a report that in turn the entire media sports world runs with as factual. To the point of my agency and my agents have to put a statement out that they never have done. Historically, CAA, Jimmy Sexton, and Ed Manowitz have never do that. But I had to do that to protect my locker room and my team. And I thought it was absolutely ridiculous. I thought it was completely unprofessional of that person to put that report out. And the fact that everybody ran with it is borderline embarrassing for the media. And I respect what you guys do. I really do, and everybody else. But the fact that everybody ran that as truth is really embarrassing. Okay, so I've got a small circle when I make decisions on what I do and what I don't do, and nobody would speak on my behalf without me knowing. And so where that report came from, I'd love to talk to that person because it's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, but you didn't say it was untrue, Slick. Oh, man, Sark's mad. Oh, man, if Sark's mad, we must all genuflect and terrorize or tremor in our boots because Sark is mad. The hell's this guy ever done? Seriously, he gets every good job. And he's like, well, no, I'm mad. Okay, but you didn't say it ain't true. You said it's embarrassing. I don't know. Maybe you did say it's true, and I fell asleep. I get a kick out of these coaches, man. Sark's mad. Kerr's mad. Oh, no, not that. What are we going to do? Oh, bite me. Hey, Brian Kelly's out. Brian Kelly and LSU got their ass beaten. Headed into Saturday's matchup against Texas A&M, there were growing concerns that, well, maybe Kelly had lost the support of the fan base. The hope of an upset briefly reignited enthusiasm, but after the team's lackluster second-half performance, fire Brian Kelly chants echoed on national TV. Momentum for his dismissal only escalated, and it came. LSU fires Brian Kelly after shocking weekend, and our friend Trey Wallace had this. LSU made the decision to fire head coach Brian Kelly following a loss to Texas A&M Saturday night that left the situation too broken to be repaired. Multiple sources told Outkick. Sunday morning, Brian Kelly met with Scott Woodard. Scott Woodard's the best, man. He gave a $70-some million buyout to Jimbo Fisher when he was the AD at Texas A&M. And now Scott Woodard is going to pay another $50+ million at LSU. Scott Woodard, you are the man. How have you survived? Brian Kelly met with Woodard to discuss which assistants to fire, which turned into a tense situation. That was a tipping point for all sides. Following the meeting, Jeff Landry was called to intervene. He's the governor. Buyout is $54 million. Brian Kelly, you had a great weekend. Which the contract does have mitigating language, meaning that now former head coach will have to search for a new job while collecting a paycheck for LSU. On Sunday night, Landry met with the Board of Supervisors one last time to discuss how to navigate in the short term. One source told Outkick that, well, it was something that needed to be done, and trying to sell the future to LSU fans would be an overwhelming problem. Finally, one filing meeting, Brian Kelly was informed through his agent that he would be fired. Listen to this. When you account for Kelly, the staff's buyout, new coaching staff, this move is going to be worth north of $100 million. Another interesting note, Kelly's final three defensive coordinators at Notre Dame. Listen to this. Mike Elko, Texas A&M coach. Clark Lee, Vanderbilt coach. Marcus Freeman, Notre Dame coach. All three have their respective teams in the top 12. Speaking of Brian Kelly, A&M QB Marcel Reed said A&M strength and conditioning coach Tommy Moffitt, who was fired, man, after being the strength and conditioning coach for 3 national champions, Kelly took over and fired Moffitt despite the 3 national championships. Apparently, they put Kelly's face on a tackling dummy this week leading up to the game. Here's Marcel Reed, the stud quarterback of A&M, on that.
So was there any part of this win that was for Coach Moffitt, and what does he mean to y'all as players?
Moffitt got some Gatorade poured on him at the end of the game by the O-line, for sure. Moffitt, wanted this game just as bad as anyone else. And, I remember Thursday he kind of brought in a tackling dummy with Brian Kelly's face on it. We all just started kicking and stomping and stuff like that. But, this one was an important one to him. And they kind of told us the story of the night before we even got here, just kind of kicking them in the butt, and the crowd will start to empty out towards the third and fourth quarter. And, they did. Our crowd started to go over there and kind of take over their student section and try to make all the noise at the end of the game. So, it was really cool, but definitely played a little bit of this game for Moffitt because he has so much passion for the game, and he does so much for us, yeah.
Well, there you go. Moffitt getting her done. And that's pretty funny. No, actually, that's more than pretty funny. That's ridiculously funny, and I love it. People have said, well, that's petty. That's disrespectful. Yes. Yeah. Good. What are you supposed to do? Just, hey, look, fire me and walk away. That ain't how the world works, baby Bubba. Man, Sark's mad. Here's Mike Elko, the coach, Texas A&M coach Mike Elko, last 2 years, second half against LSU. We outscored him 60-6. Says a lot about Tommy Moffitt. Even the governor of Louisiana isn't happy. I think at LSU Sports and the LSU Board of Supervisors need to rethink their actions and raise ticket prices for next year after tonight's show. And, man, we got all kind of stuff going on. Staying in the SEC, big road win for Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. And he did what you should do. Some player tried to chase him down a little bit, and Lane Kiffin said, F you, man, here we go. Here's Lane Kiffin.
All to go. Here's Molly.
This is pretty damn good. Pretty funny to me. I don't know if you can hear it, not hear it. By the way, Indiana remains the best team in college football. Suck it, all of you, every single one of you. Mike Franzese joins us. Looking forward to this. Joins us next. Talk about gambling. Is it real? Is there tentacles? What's going on here? We'll talk to Mike Franzese next. Michael Franzese lived that life, the life of a New York mobster, and was very good at it. I mean, damn. I mean, the stories of his gasoline and all the stuff, been to jail. All you got to do is go and pay attention and read about the life of Mike Franzese, who was born into that life. He's nice enough to join us now. I know that everybody and their mother, and I thank you for joining us. As I said, everybody and their mother is asking you to come on. Mike, you've been very open about this. You had bookmakers, you had people all over that were involved in gambling, in college sports, in professional sports. So let me ask you this, and you don't have to name names or a team or anything like that. Do you know for a fact, for an absolute fact, of a player or players by name, don't give me the name, I don't need the name, that actually threw games? Or is this like this big myth out there? I'm talking about games. I'm not talking about prop bets. I'm talking about old school bookie games when there was no real prop bets. Do you know actual people and teams that did that?
Unfortunately, yes, I do. And, at one point, I helped perpetrate that. So, it's firsthand information that I have, yes. And,
Mike, when you saw all the – go ahead.
It's easier than you think. I know a lot of people say, come on, with everybody watching, how is this going to – I've told people all the time. I said, they've asked me if the Super Bowl was fixed. And I said, why would they fix a game where 350 million people are watching? It's got all the attention in the world when they can do Sunday's game and nobody's paying that kind of attention. So, normally those high-profile games, no. I know there was a lot of talk about one Super Bowl in particular, but I don't have any experience with that. But other games in every other sport, absolutely. It happens more than you might think.
Mike, I coached college basketball, played college basketball 30-plus years at Bowling Green State University and at Indiana for Bob Knight. I coached with him. I was there with him 17 years. And it was the biggest fear. It was literally the biggest fear, even going back to the 80s when I played, Mike. Let me go this route with you. Is it not the biggest fear of the NCAA, NBA, Major League, any league, any team, big, small, when the mafia gets involved? Is that not the biggest nightmare of all of these leagues and teams?
Well, I'll tell you how big it is. I was finishing up a 10-year prison sentence in Lompoc Federal Prison back in 1994, and I get a visit from the FBI, which is normally not a friendly visit because they were after me for years. They put me away. And they said, listen, we got a favor. We really need your help. The leagues need your help. They knew I had 10, 12, bookmakers working under me back in New York and Brooklyn, Long Island and Brooklyn. And they said, you claimed you turned your life around. We need you to come and speak to our players. We want you to get involved with the leagues because, listen, they can overcome the steroid issue. They can overcome a lot of things. But if gambling ever turned into, what wrestling was 40, 50 years ago, turned the sports into what wrestling was 40, 50 years ago, you'd ruin the entire sport. So they were very, very worried. They knew firsthand that the mob was involved with some of their players. They get that word back. And so they recruited me to come and speak first to all the pro leagues. And then in 1998, the NCAA jumped on board. And I've spoken at over 300 universities, Division I and II, as recently as this year. So I'm still doing it. And with the pros, we covered a lot, both football, basketball, and Major League Baseball. Not so much the NHL, but those other three leagues, absolutely. And they're terrified of that. And the thing I don't understand? They're so terrified, but I've been warning them for years. I've been saying, listen, the more access you give a gambler, the more problems you're going to have. And now they have access. Back in my day, they had to come to the bookmaker and go to Vegas. Now they can go anywhere. And I'll tell you something else that happened. When off-track betting came into New York, some of the cops, NYPD, came to us and said, we're going to put you out of business because these guys now, they don't need a bookmaker. They're going to go to off-track betting. I said, well, watch what happens. People that never gambled before started going to off-track betting. But what happens when you go there? You got to give me a credit card. You got to put cash on the line. They go there. They lose. Now people that never gambled are looking for the bookmaker because we gave credit. They actually increased our business. The more access you give, the more people that are going to gamble, the more trouble they're going to get into.
Michael, that's stunning to me because I gambling's legal here in Indiana, and I got a couple friends that still use bookies, and I'm like, what the hell are you doing? And I don't know their answer. Their answer never really made sense to me, but you just did. Let me go this route. Why would a guy, in your opinion, Michael, why would a guy like Chauncey Billups get involved in this? Or why would a guy making $26 million like Terry Rozier, why would he get involved in this from your point of view as somebody that's on the other side, was on the other side of this?
Well, some people say it's greed, but there is something to that. But you know what I have found out? A lot of people don't understand the extent of gambling within the leagues. You got to look at gambling is an extension of these athletes' competitive spirit. They put money down on a game. They put money down on a competition. It raises the stakes. And some of these guys are so competitive. They gamble, they gamble, they gamble. Remember, you're making $26 million. You're not putting down a $500 bet. You're putting down a lot of money because you don't get any satisfaction out of $500. You'll get satisfaction out of 500,000, a million, and then they lose and they start chasing. Now, even though they have money, they say to themselves, well, wait a minute, I just lost $3-4 million. I got to make it back. I'm not going to make it back with the league. I'll gamble and make it back again. And all of a sudden, they get into that cycle. And before you know it, they're losing and trying to catch up. And they do anything. And that's really what it is. I've really kind of studied the psychology of these guys because when I was trying to put them in a situation where they would, work with me to to manipulate the spread. Because remember, it's never about winning or losing. It's always about the point spread. You actually get into the psychology of these players and you see they're trapped within themselves. They just love to gamble so much. It's unbelievable.
How does the mob get to Chauncey Billups and do all of this high-tech infrared poker game stuff? How do they physically get to a guy like Chauncey Billups, who is a Hall of Famer, pretty good reputation for years, NBA head coach? How do they get to him? How does that connection work, Michael?
Well, some people think they have this because they watch television, they watch the movies, and they think that mob guys are always running up to somebody and scaring them and putting the arm on them. You know how I met so many of these guys? We go to the same clubs when we hang out. I know an NFL player, an NBA player, say, hey, come on, you're a great player. I love you here. Let me buy you a drink. I got a couple of women around me. They want to meet you and say hello. Before you know it, you're rubbing shoulders and making friends with these people. We're not going there and putting the arm on them right away, and we they sell the mob short a lot of times. A lot of guys are very strategic, especially when it comes to gambling. And they'll just meet these players in their own territory, their own situation, because when it comes to gambling, we had a lot of people around that worked with us. A lot of people that worked with us to bring us these athletes, to get close to them, to get friendly with them. I can tell you how many I was friendly with, again, without mentioning names because, it goes way back. But it's not that hard to get around them. Not at all. And remember,
so what's the connection?
A lot of these guys grew up on the street. They're street guys, especially in the NBA.
Hey, Michael, how does the initial ask go? When you're asking a guy who's made millions and millions of millions, how does the initial ask go to a guy like Chauncey Billups and say, hey, man, we're going to do this. Here's how it's going to go. We need you to be the alleged front man. How does the ask come down?
Well, we don't know the particulars yet. We don't know if Chauncey Billups had any kind of gambling issue, if he was in trouble in any way, if he wanted to make up some losses. We don't know that, so we don't know the backstory yet on that. But, with me, it happened so many times. We had athletes gambling with our bookmakers. A bookmaker would come to me and say, hey, so-and-so from the Jets, the Mets, whatever, he's into me pretty heavy. And I said, well, how much? He said, well, he owes us $50,000. Now, this is back in the 80s. I said, 50 grand. I said, let him get into you for 250 grand, 300 grand. I said, all you're doing is putting an entry on a piece of paper. It's not costing you anything. I said, when he gets in that trouble, then bring him to me. I want to sit down with him. And then you'd bring him and tell him, listen, you owe me 250, 300 grand. How are you going to pay me? Well, I don't know. I said, no, you have to pay. And then I don't want no excuses. You have to pay. You know, and you could see the guy's getting nervous. He's getting scared. I would say, hey, listen, you know what? You're a good player. I like your team. I said, you don't have to pay me right now. Here's what I want you to do. You give me 2% a week on the money that you owe me in cash every Monday. Don't miss. Be here every Monday with the cash, and I'll let you slide for a while. Well, what does this guy do? Almost inevitably, he's trying to make up his losses, so he's finding another bookmaker someplace else in town. We have a good network. We know what's going on. So after a while, he's owed that bookmaker money. So we bring the guy in again and say, hey, listen, all right, we know the game. We know what you're doing. You're not going to pay me back, and you're not going to walk out of here without a deal. So here's what you're going to do. You're a running back. Okay, first 3 times you get the ball, you put it on the ground. You're a quarterback. First 3 times you get it, put the hands of the other team. You know, I'll worry about how I get my money back from that point, and I'll tell you when you're finished with that. It's not hard when they get themselves in trouble. Like Chauncey, I don't know. I don't know because I don't know the backstory on that. Maybe he got himself in some trouble and he was willing to play along, so he didn't want to pay the money, or who knows what the story is. And hopefully we'll find out. I don't know if we'll ever know the real story here. But there's a lot of different ways that he gets trapped. And sometimes these guys just like the action. Hey, I like it, man. You know, I'll get paid from you guys. Yeah, easy. Everybody loves me. I can bring them to sit down at a card game. No problem. Oh, good. We win. We'll split the winnings with you. You know, there's a lot of different ways. And, you know, you got to understand the mentality of some of these players. People just don't realize that.
Michael, that indictment mentioned crime families specifically, Bonanno, Gambino. I mean, did that surprise you that they actually mentioned those names? And from your experience, how common is the sophistication of what went on here, Michael, with the cameras and the shuffle decks? You know, those 2 questions stood out to me when I heard the actual names of those crime families, and then the sophistication. Your experience, no big deal, business as usual?
Well, I'll tell you what did surprise me a little bit, that all 4 families were involved. 4 out of the 5. I was saying, hey, what happened? I was a Colombo guy, and they didn't mention the Colombo family. So I said, wow, either my guys got really smart or they got left out of this, one or the other. But it's not it's not normal that all 4 families would be working together, which shows me this is very widespread. There's no question. Because when you got guys from all 4 families that operate, some of them in different parts of the country, this is the tip of the iceberg as far as I'm concerned, if they're being on the level with all 4 families involved. That's number 1. Number 2, the sophistication doesn't surprise me, because I can tell you this. You know, we had a big run. When I say we, I'm going to my former associates. Prohibition, during the years of Prohibition, that's what made Cosa Nostra what it is in this country. That's what brought us the money. I always say the government made us strong by giving us Prohibition. Guys were very intuitive, right away realized, hey, we're going to supply a product that people want, and we're going to do it well. That's number 1. I was in the gas, but that was a short run. It was 10, 11 years. I was in the gas business, defrauded the government out of tax. I had a 7-8 year run, and then that went down. But gambling has been the main business of the mob ever since we started here way back in, you know, when we started coming in the early 1900s. They're very sophisticated. They know it better than anybody else. And it's not surprising to me, because guys that have technology experience like that, we know them. They come around us, and we make deals with them. So I'm sure there was no mob guys that created that card situation, but they certainly know the guys that do. And they sell those guys short quite a bit. They're not dummies. Don't look at the Sopranos and say, oh, that's what the mob is all about. They're not dummies. They're pretty smart, especially when it comes to the business that they know well, and that's gambling.
I want to go back to something you've said on this just now, and you said on other times you've been on, tip of the iceberg. So what do you see, again, Michael, based on your experience, what do you see happening next? Another set of arrests? I know you don't have a crystal ball, but you did say you think this is the tip of the iceberg based on the families being involved. What happens next here?
Well, again, I can't speak for the FBI, Department of Justice,
Yeah.
but I did read yesterday. I read in the New York Post there was a couple of card players that said it was an NFL player that lured them into the game. So now you're not talking only NBA, you're talking NFL. I mean, if they really do a thorough investigation, because the thing that caught me now, whoever the informant is, whether he was an undercover person or just turned informant, he had over 3,000 tape recordings of phone conversations. And these guys chatter a lot on the phone. You get a lot out of that, between text messages and phone calls. Guys thinks that nobody's listening or watching. But if they continue the investigation, there's going to be a lot more that's going to come out here. A lot of different players and from the different leagues too. Not only the NBA. You don't want to say it's strictly NBA. It's all of the leagues. They're all gambling. When I went to the colleges, this happened every single time. When I left the university, and this is all the student athletes, I tell them, listen, you guys got a gambling problem. I said, email me. I said, I don't work for the NCAA. I don't answer to your coach. I'm my own guy. But I want to help you. I'm serious about this. Email me. I'm not going to tell anybody. It's between you and I. By the time I got back to my hotel room, in every situation, I got emails from student athletes either struggling with gambling themselves or they'll tell you it's my brother, it's my cousin, it's my teammate, whatever. Every single time. So this is not something that, only a few people are involved in. They gamble a lot. A lot.
I'm sure you've seen this. There's 11 smaller college basketball programs that are currently being investigated. Some historically black colleges, Eastern Michigan is among them. If I went back into coaching, Michael, the way this is set up with DraftKings, FanDuel, legalized, it's really easy to get caught. I think I would tell kids how easy it is to get caught, as well as telling them about the consequences of it, right? I mean, you mentioned something. You mentioned an informant. Is that how the poker game gets busted, an informant? But with legalized gambling, this shit's easy to figure out, is it not?
Absolutely. Very, very easy. No question about it. And now the NCAA, last week, they just gave college athletes the okay to gamble on professionals.
What do you think about that? What do you think about that?
I think it's crazy. I don't understand why they're doing this. I know they say they want them to have the same rights as their peers have in college, but these are athletes. They should be kept as far away from gambling as they possibly can. It shouldn't be encouraged in any way, shape, or form, in my experience. And I tell these to the players all the time. I said, you know what? You're putting yourself in a position where somebody's going to make a sucker out of you. You're going to lose money. You're going to lose money you can't pay back. And I know some of them now, because, the new rules, they're able to earn money. But, these are young kids. The more money they get, the more money they spend, and the more money they do foolish things with. And gambling is a foolish thing. But again, extension of their competitiveness. They love to gamble. They love to raise the stakes in any competition. And I don't think people understand the psychology of these athletes. They don't get it.
Hey, you can see Michael. I'm a subscriber. Michael's YouTube page at Michael Franzese, Franzese. And you got to check out his wine at francesewine.com. When the mob reads about NIL, college kids getting a ton of money, Michael, it seems to me the eyes had to light up. Oh, man, they got a lot of money now. We can get into these kids for a hell of a lot more than what they were making. That's question one. Question two, with the publicity, we mentioned the FBI, Kash Patel, mentioning names, four family names by name. Do they back off for a little bit? Do they stay quiet for a while? How does the PR aspect for the four families work?
Well, number one, yes. I mean, there is a big celebration because, hey, more access, more guys, more money around. Absolutely. So that's they were having a glass of wine over that. That you can bet on. And as far as are they going to back off? Well, listen. Anytime an indictment comes out, people get a little bit nervous. But this is not a case where people are going to get 20 years. There's a lot of deals are going to be made. They're going to go in. There are going to be more informants coming out of this, without a doubt. They're going to go in, they're going to make their deal, they're going to take their pleas, and, they'll get 2 years, 4 years on this. It's gambling. Nobody got murdered here. So they'll back off a little bit, but, they're always ruled by the money. They're always ruled by the money. So it may quiet down a little bit, and then it'll start up all over again. It's never going to go away. Never going to go away. I guarantee it's been going on since the beginning of guys coming over here from Italy. It's not going away.
Yeah, I mean, I remember my dad bringing parlay cards home in the early 70s. The Nuzzo family down the street. I mean, they were doing it. I mean, hell, who's the golden goose in this? Like, all right, informant gets a player. All right, I don't really want the player. I want the next. Who's the ultimate, Michael? Who's the ultimate golden goose that the FBI wants to take down?
Well, there's a lot of them. I mean, it's if you got 4 families involved, you got guys involved from all families. There's a lot of them. It's not like there's one guy on the top. This is so widespread and it happens so often. Listen, the leagues are thrilled that people can gamble. Because remember this, there was a time when you had a favorite team and you rooted for that team, right? And you bet on that team. And then all of a sudden gambling comes up, and now on a Sunday you can bet on how many different games. They increase all the interest in the sport through gambling. So that's why they partner up with these gambling sites. That's why they, undercover, so to speak, they promote gambling, because the more you can gamble on games, the more people get involved. So, there's a lot of people involved. There's not one golden goose. I mean, maybe they'd be happy. Look, when this Shohei Ohtani thing happened in Major League Baseball, I had reporters from Japan come over and speak with me and sat down. They actually did a whole big piece about Shohei Ohtani. Now, would the government love to nail somebody like that? Absolutely. Big feather in their cap, huge news, promotions people get, 100%. That's why they came after us so much. They came after us because, number one, we were easy targets, because when we got arrested, we didn't run away. We didn't shoot at the cops. We put our hands out, put the handcuffs on, we go to jail. But why did they come after us? Because we made big news. You lock up John Gotti and put him away. You made a career. Joe Colombo, my father even. Your careers are made, with busts like that. So, yeah, they want to put it out there if they get a big fish like that. But there's going to be more than one. There's a lot of them out there.
A lot of people felt like the mob was done after Gotti, Sammy the Bull Rats, Gotti goes down. A lot of people felt like the mob was done. It really did surprise a lot of people that when they named those 4 families. I mean, I kept seeing it all over the place. Thought the mob was done. Mob's never done, is it?
No, it's not going away in my lifetime. I always say this, the golden years of my former life are really from the 40s to the mid-80s. In the mid-80s, when they really went crazy with the racketeering statute, it damaged a lot of guys, made a lot of informants, hurt me really bad. I went down on a RICO Act, but the guys got smart. They realized after the whole Gotti putting himself out there like that, you just can't operate like that. You cannot. So things quieted down. They got smart. When I was on the street, every day or every other day, there's a story in the New York Times, the Daily News, the New York Post, whatever, about mob guys. We were all over the place. Now, I read the New York Post every morning. Maybe every 6 months you read a bust. But they're not going away. They got the same numbers in the families, the same amount of people on the street. They're just operating differently because the word was put out strongly. We got to stay undercover. We have to.
Hey, last thing before I let you go, Michael. When when something comes down like this, what happens inside those families? Like, it doesn't seem like guys get nervous. It doesn't seem like people are afraid to go to jail. And the one guy that I've recognized, the name wasn't named Rozier. His dad was a boss, right? I mean, I remember that name from different things. What goes on inside of families? How does that work?
Well, the first thing you're worried about always, when there's a bust like that, who's the informant? What did happen, So there'll be a little investigation within, to really kind of tighten the belt and see if anybody's talking. That's the first thing that people think about. How did this come down? Who gave us up? Was it the player? Was it one of us? Was it another? Because this was a wide net. There was a lot of people involved in this. That's why, look, the more people involved, the more chance you are of getting in trouble. When I used to speak to all these athletes, even as late as this year, I used to tell them, let me give you guys are a lot of street kids. If you want to commit a crime, take some advice from me. Do it alone. That's it. This way, if you get in trouble, it's only you. Nobody else is going to put you in trouble, So that's what they're worried about right off the bat. Who was it that's talking? How did we do? Where's the leak? And they'll investigate that a little bit. But again, this is a gambling bust. This is not a major racketeering act. And I know it sounds big and there's a wide net there, but, my prediction here is guys are going to come in. If they arrested 30 guys, 25 of them are going to make deals, maybe more. And they're going to plea out and they'll do whatever they have to do. And some more people will be talking. And that's how they're going to get more information. Hey, it's not only this guy from the NBA. I was working with this player from the NFL or Major League Baseball. You'll see that happen, no doubt.
Last thing. I'm sorry for keeping you, but you made comment about Ohtani and the feds would want to, Michael, keep him or get him or whatever the right words are. LeBron James's name has been thrown. A lot of people believe that Michael Jordan got protected by the league, by everybody, suspension, go away. A lot of people believe the opposite of what you said, which is, you know what? We really don't want Ohtani. That would ruin a sport. Or we really don't want LeBron James. But you think different. You think the feds would want those guys.
No doubt in my mind. Absolutely. The league don't want it. And they'll maybe do everything. They talk to the FBI and say, listen, this is our star guy. We got to protect him. I mean, they'll go out of their way. But no, the DOJ and the FBI, absolutely. If they can get a big fish like that, they want it. Trust me. They don't care about the league's, the integrity of the league. They'll say, hey, that's on you. You promoted gambling. Look what happened. You're your main guy. We're not going to we're out there to protect the people. We don't want them to get hurt. No, they would want the bust. No question in my mind.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people believe opposite. At least a lot of people that I've seen said they protected Ohtani, gave the fall guy, to that Ippy guy, the interpreter, protected Michael Jordan, will protect LeBron. That's interesting. How's the wine business?
The wine business is good. Let me say, very good at that. We got some good varieties. But let me tell you this. On my YouTube channel, I spoke to the bookmaker that was taking the bets from the interpreter. And look, he assumed all along that Ohtani was involved because he saw the bank account. He saw the names on it. But he did tell me he never had any connection and any contact whatsoever with Ohtani. And I asked him, I said, look, we're off camera. You protecting the guy or what? What do you know? And he swore up and down. He said, no, never. But, listen, I mean, I love Ohtani as a player. The guy's amazing. But, it does seem kind of hard to believe that kind of money could be taken out of your account. You don't know it. But then again, on the other side, so many players that I know have been ripped off by their agents, by their friends. I mean, Mike Tyson, a good friend of mine, he got ripped off big time, during his time. They don't pay attention. They don't watch. Before you know it, money's missing, and then they get all upset. So, Ohtani's got so much revenue stream. Maybe he didn't notice. I mean, I could see that. I think that's plausible.
You think Jordan went to baseball, or you think Jordan was suspended and went to baseball? You think his dad's murder had anything to do with any of that?
I know for a fact, because I was working heavy with him during that time, that he was told to go into baseball to calm things down in the NBA. He was told to go into baseball. I want to mention something about Jordan. I used to say Jordan had a terrible gambling problem. Terrible, because the guy gambles on everything. I saw an incident once which shocked me with Michael, right? But then I saw the documentary on Michael, and Michael said, I don't have a gambling problem. I got a competition problem. And you know what? It made so much sense because he loves the competition, but Michael Jordan can bet whatever he wants. It's never going to affect his lifestyle. He's not going to lose his house. He's not going to lose his car. He's still taking his vacations because he's got the money to overcome whatever losses that he's got. So, okay, he's got a competition problem. And it made a lot of sense. So I corrected myself. I said, you know what? Michael's right. Because gambling's not going to hurt him. But not everybody's in Michael Jordan's situation. You can have $26 million and you're getting so many millions a week, and you're gambling, 20 or 30% of that, that's going to hurt at some point. And that number is not crazy. When I say they're gambling 20% of what their paycheck is, it's not out of the ordinary. Trust me on that.
I do. I trust you implicitly on that. That's fascinating. Go to Michael's YouTube page, youtube.com at Michael Franzese, Franzese, and check out the wine, francesewine.com. Great talking to you. I love your channel. You just sit there and you know what? You just tell, I know you got people coming at you now. I saw some dude was coming at you. I don't know who that guy is, but fuck him. So there you go.
Hey, when you're on social media, you got to have thick skin. It's okay. But I got to tell you, I enjoyed this. I enjoy this because you're old school, man. So I like talking to you. Anytime you want to have me on, I'll be here.
I enjoyed it as well, and I will call you back. I promise you that, because I love watching your stuff, man. Every day I go. I got eye surgery, but before that, I go every day. You get me through workouts, brother. You do. You get me through freaking workouts. Thanks, Michael. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
You too. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
There he goes, Michael Franzese. Michael's wine, everybody tells me, is really damn good, really good. And the YouTube channel is exceptional. No, the YouTube channel is just him sitting there talking. I don't know who the guy is, but it is damn good. Hey, last thing real quick. The easiest thing in the world to say is, oh, man, this is big. This is going to go to every league. We'll see. We'll see. I hope it does. I hope they get rid of this. I hope they expunge gambling. But I learned this. I'm sitting there a few years, 7 years, 6, whatever it was, watching the Southern District of New York up there on stage with the FBI director talking about all these college coaches. We've got your game plan. I think it was called Operation Hardwood. Nothing happened. So I'm a little leery. I understand the Southern District of New York got a couple guys convicted. Book Richardson went to jail. But I'm one of those skeptics after seeing that. Look, I know Antonio Gates' name popped up. I know Michael Jordan's name popped up. I get all that. I do. I understand that. But the truth of the matter is, I will wait and see. It's easy to say, oh, everybody's doing it. It's like people would say to me, hey, Dan, this is why I asked Michael Franzese this question. Hey, Dan, everyone's cheating. I said, really? I don't know for fact that I would swear to or go gun to head with of anybody that I know that actually gave money to players back when it was illegal to do it. But everyone's cheating. I get it. So color me a little bit skeptical. I'll believe it when I see it. Indiana's the best football team in America, both in the NFL and in college football. Thanks for joining. See you tomorrow.